Stop. Electroshock therapy, human experimentation. How monstrous is this five-star sanatorium? To develop new drugs, the twisted director is plunging the entire city into an abyss. Let's dive in. Mark's mother died suddenly in an accident, causing his sister to develop severe mental issues. Her outbursts drew attention, and she was forcibly committed to a mental institution. Mark repeatedly demanded her release, but the facility denied him for fabricated reasons. Even visiting her proved impossible. Left with no choice, Mark decided to infiltrate. He took to the streets, shirtless, feigning mental illness to cause a disturbance. Prompted by concerned citizens, police arrived swiftly. A tranquilizer shot later, Mark was delivered to his sister's asylum. After evaluation, the director declared him severely disturbed. I want to take care of him. He was assigned to the critical ward, housing only the most dangerous patients with violent tendencies. A guard warned Mark, "Don't provoke the old man opposite. He seems frail, but he rules this ward through brutality." No sooner had he spoken than the old man as the guard moved to open the cell, Mark spotted the ruse. His timely warning prevented the guard from falling for it. Now Mark had made an enemy of the ward's most vicious kingpin before settling in. At his command, every patient vowed to kill Mark. But Mark remained unfazed. He wasn't planning to stay. When the director returned next morning, Mark didn't react. After another episode like yesterday's frenzy, he was transferred back to the general ward. But on his way out, he failed to notice the disheveled old man, acting obsequiously toward the director. Meanwhile, Matt arrived at the general ward, where patients merely exhibited odd behaviors, without showing overt aggression. As he headed back to his room, a patient lunged forward, strangling the accompanying nurse while babbling incoherently. After a moment's hesitation, Matt hit the call button. Security swarmed the area instantly, the director marching behind them. With just a few bark commands, the patient released his grip. The director's authority over patients was absolute. The long-haired nurse gave Matt a grateful nod. Before hurrying off, seizing his chance, Matt examined the window frame. His escape plan never far from mind. A rustle came from the wardrobe. He opened it to find a patient cowering inside. The man stammered, "No harm, man. Just curious about you." Every patient sent to ICU by the director returns violent with silver-eyed pupils. You're the first exception. Something sinister is happening here. Curly was right. Skinhead, the nurse's attacker, now lay strapped to an exam table. The director prepped a syringe of enhanced serum. The injection made Skinhead's pupils glow silver. But Matt had no interest in others' troubles. Every spare moment was spent plotting his escape. That day, during group therapy, he finally saw his sister. Matt quickly explained his purpose. "Just tell me where they're keeping you. I'm gonna find a way to get us out of here." But instead of gratitude, she scolded him for being reckless. This isn't a place you can just leave when you want. Though rebuffed, Matt wasn't ready to give up. He quietly unscrewed a wire from under his bed and tried prying open the window, accidentally cutting his finger. Matt attended the morning symposium with the injury. When it was his turn to speak, blood dripped from his wound onto the floor, triggering a horrifying scene. The buzzcut patient opposite smelled the blood and snapped into a frenzy, roaring as he lunged at Matt. Another patient, a white-haired woman, knelt and licked the blood off the floor. The head nurse tried to call security, but the buzzcut man bit her hand viciously. Matt watched, stunned. Security quickly contained the chaos. Could no longer be contained. Was Curly right? Was the dean drugging the patients? Now, Matt panicked. He feared he and his sister could suffer the same fate. He stormed into the dean's office, admitting he'd faked his illness, demanding their release. But faking madness was easy, and the dean wouldn't simply let a healthy man walk out. "I'm getting out of here," Matt shouted desperately, only to be dragged by security to the critical ward. The patients here seemed even more deranged. Driven to the brink of breakdown, the man could only confess his illness before the director to secure his return to the general ward. Matt finally grasped his sister's terror. Once admitted to this asylum, no one leaves unchanged. Discovering Curly knew the asylum's workings, Matt recruited him as an ally. Yet Curly held no hope for escape, only promising limited aid. Under cover of night, they slipped from their room, exploiting a patrol gap to infiltrate the security office. The access card was theirs. Guided by Curly, Matt dodged corridor cameras, swiping the card to reach his sister's cell. The girl shed her act, pleading through tears, "Get me out. They force experimental drugs on us all." Nightly screams echo through these halls. Matt vowed freedom, but first, a flawless escape plan was essential. Returning, he collided with patrolling guards, forcing him upstairs to evade capture. Blundering into the director's lab, he spotted an iron cage, dominating the corner. Approaching, he found his bald attacker imprisoned inside. Fighting down fear, he grabbed a vial from shelves. Footsteps echoed. The director and assistant entered. Hiding behind crates, Matt overheard. "Stop the trials," urged the assistant. "It drives people into madness and is highly contagious." Yet the director completely ignored the warnings, instead hailing it as a milestone in human evolution. When the two finished their experiment and left the lab, Matt seized the chance to return to his ward, staring at the lethal vial in his hand. He grew increasingly aware of the director's cold-blooded cruelty. Early next morning, Matt sought out Curly again. They resumed plotting their escape from the asylum. This drug was crucial evidence to expose the director. Just then, a patient approached, claiming he'd found a stray cat, then abruptly strangled. The splattered blood ignited like sparks in a fuel drum, triggering frenzy in every patient dosed with the drug. Matt was instantly tackled, but guard arrived in time, quelling the chaos with stun batons. Though unharmed, Matt's composure shattered as patients instantly transformed into ravenous monsters. Nobody dared remain another moment. Yet the head nurse declared Matt's condition had deteriorated. By your paranoid delusions, he'd have been sent back to isolation, if not for the long-haired nurse intervening. Refusing to wait helplessly, Matt was devising escape plans, when Curly burst in with perfect timing. He drugged the guards and stolen the access key. Now, they could roam the halls freely, but reaching the fourth-floor isolation ward, they found it empty. Matt's heart sank. Had his sister been taken to the lab? His worst dread had materialized. Matt's sister lay on the examination table, but before the drug could be administered, the assistant director tried to feed Buzzcut first. In a moment of distraction, he was grabbed by the arm. A scream echoed as the assistant's arm was brutally snapped. Hearing the commotion, the director rushed over and carried the assistant to the second-floor emergency room. This left Matt's sister unattended. However, the director spotted Matt and Curly's location clearly. He immediately called security, but received no response. In his panic, he accidentally damaged the power system, causing the critical ward's isolation doors to disengage. The mutated patients burst out like unleashed beasts. Matt and Curly bolted in terror, fending off patients while bypassing security locks. They narrowly escaped into the laboratory. Seeing his sister unharmed on the medical bed, Matt sighed in relief. Time to escape the asylum. The mutants had vanished, but upon opening the emergency, they found the path blocked. As mutants rained down from the ceiling, realizing they were trapped, Matt focused on restoring elevator power. Curly braced for a brutal fight, but injured mutants were dragged away by others who began devouring them. These mutants weren't picky eaters when prey was available. Seizing the moment, Matt activated the elevator controls, sheltering all three inside. When the deranged director charged after them, Matt silenced him with a blade. The trio made it unscathed to the basement, heading for the main exit. But I never expected this place to be overrun too. Blood splattered across the floors and walls. Matt gasped, "It's a disaster." The next instant, a horde of infected came charging. The trio scrambled down the corridor, barricading the door with wooden poles. Suddenly, a woman's scream echoed behind them. The long-haired nurse had survived, but she delivered grim news. Any power outage triggers automatic lockdown. That means the main exit's sealed. We gotta find another way out. They raided the kitchen, first grabbing improvised weapons, just as another wave of infected swarmed. Matt fought a retreating battle, forced back to the second floor. Passing the director's office, Matt lucked out. Then they found the assistant on a gurney. Sensing his end was near, he confessed his guilt in helping torture patients. He revealed a hidden exit. Fourth-floor lab leads outside. Begging not to turn, he pleaded, "End me quickly." The long-haired nurse granted mercy. They raced toward the fourth floor. When an infected ambushed them, the nurse hesitated. Fangs sank into her neck. Matt fired in rage, but she was beyond saving. Grief-stricken, he pushed on. Infested stairwell blocked their path. They crawled through ventilation shafts. After labyrinthine detours, they emerged on fourth floor. The isolation ward was drenched in blood. The mutated must have wiped each other out. They rushed into the lab and swiftly located the secret passage the assistant had mentioned. But just then, the long-missing director, and before Matt and his sister's eyes, drove a steel needle into Curly's head. Seeing the needle about to pierce him, he plunging it straight into the director's body. His sister grabbed his stun baton, and working together, they finally subdued the director. But they weren't about to let him die easily. They bound him beside the iron cage where the buzz-cut man inside was. Meanwhile, Matt and his sister escaped the asylum through the secret passage. They came across a police car by the roadside, and upon hearing about the asylum, the officers insisted on investigating. Ignoring the siblings' warnings, they knocked on the asylum's door, only to find the director somehow alive, with a horde of mutated patients emerging behind him. The officers were pounced on before they could radio for help. Trembling in their car, Matt and his sister watched helplessly as the infected charged toward the city center.